and greetings and welcome to Refuge Depot, where we're going to be discussing some serious current events. I mean, there's so many current events that are in the news that are really, as we have on the flyer, these are cracks in the foundation. If there were any cracks in the foundation that we could see, we can see them now. And it's definitely a nation in crisis. So what we want to do is we want to talk about these issues and we want you to chime in. I'm going to go ahead and put this link in the, I'm going to go ahead and copy and put this link down in the comments where you can, if you would like, you can come on live and join us in the discussion. But I'm joined with Mr. Aaron Olinger, and I'll bring him up. Greetings, brother. How you doing today?
Oh, trying to get over a little virus right now, but I'm making it.
Absolutely. And like we said, as far as the current events, one of the current events that we'll be talking about is this bird flu going around. There's so much that's going on. But for those who are watching, we definitely want you, if you are watching this, please share it with your friends and family on your social media platforms, subscribe, like, and let's go ahead and get right on into it. So I think one of the major topics that's on the news today was the possibility of the government shutdown, and it looked like it has been averted. But I wanted to just go ahead and play this clip of the who is this? The speaker. And I think what he says, if you listen to him closely, this is what we've been saying on this program for a long time, and that is that the mainstream media is not telling you that a drought, excuse me, that a famine is imminent. And listen to this clip, and I'll go ahead and go and bring it up and play it. Mhm.
Act of 2024 will provide temporary funding to get us into the first part of next year. We're excited about that because Republicans will have control of the White House and the Senate and the House, and we'll be able to make the key decisions about funding for the 2025 fiscal year. So this will allow us the opportunity to do that. In addition, we're going to take care of Americans who have suffered true devastating emergencies and disasters. We had, of course, a record hurricane season with Helene and Milton that did real damage across as many as 6 states. There's $100 billion to provide much needed relief to those people, those Americans who have really been struggling and still are from those storms. And in addition to that, we have $10 billion of emergency aid to our farmers and ranchers. Many of the small farms in America are on the verge of collapse, primarily because of
Yeah.
Bidenomics and inflation, the high cost of inputs and fertilizer and seed and everything that they need to keep those farms going. And they've had 3 lost years in a row, some of it because of drought, a lot of it because of the economics of it. And it doesn't make sense for lenders to provide them funding anymore. And so this is a stopgap measure to save those farms, to save food production in America, to ensure that we have that diversity in the marketplace and our food supply is directly related to national security. So it's a very, very important thing for both parties to do to provide that aid. We also have a clean extension of the Farm Bill, a clean extension of health extenders that are necessary, and a couple of other details. Everything that I just told you was negotiated in a bipartisan fashion. Both parties agreed to these terms, and that's what's on the floor right now. The only change in this legislation is that we are going to push the debt limit to January 30th of 2027. We will.
All right, let's go ahead and we'll close it out with that one right there. Um, but once again, like I said, I wrote a book called The Inescapable Famine. And what he just said, we haven't heard anything about the suffering of the farmers like he just detailed 3 years in a row, he said. And I think that that's something that's that more than the debt is alarming, because that definitely means that we're looking at food prices that are going to be on the rise. And like I said, there's so many other different factors. He just talked about, of course, the extreme weather that's causing the farmers to suffer. But we also have to look at the insect die off. The insects that are major pollinators are dying off. And this is something that they're not talking about. And there's so many different other factors that are taking place that are causing uh, food to be a scarcity. And then on top of that, what you're going to have is you're going to have the food being inflated. And if America does go into some type of theater of war, then we're really looking at food inflation, because then you're going to have the supply chain being disrupted. And since we're living in a global economy, a lot of our food comes from out of state, from out of the country. And so this is something that we definitely should be aware of. Another thing that he talked about was of course, the debt, the national debt, and pushing it forward. Right now, America is insolvent. America can't pay the debt that it already has. It's insolvent. And so we're looking at some serious times ahead. And that's why this program is so important, because we urge you that if you have any land in your backyard where you can begin to plant a backyard garden, that you begin to do that. And so with that, I want to let you chime in on this, Brother Aaron. What was your thoughts on what you just heard?
Well, you said backyard. I'm gonna say for those living in apartments or condominiums, if you
Mm,
have a patio or a walkout balcony, you can do what they call container gardening. That's what I've been doing for the last 2 years, growing plants and things in flower pots, buckets, 5 gallon buckets. It's very
mhm.
easy to do, and you get to learn a lot about gardening and the ins and outs of dealing with pests and things that you would need to know in the event that the supply chain, like you said, becomes interrupted. I mean,
Right, absolutely.
temperatures have been rising, which has been causing droughts, all these fires, all this inclement weather, storms, tornadoes. It's tearing up crops, and Japan and China is bidding the highest for our food. So our
Mm,
food goes overseas, and then we're buying food from South America, and it's coming in here contaminated with E. coli, salmonella, listeria, and you're hearing about all these food recalls.
right.
We don't even consume what we're manufacturing. That's the reason why I
Mhm.
tell people, if you're not going to grow food, which you should, make friends with some of these farmers at these farmer markets, so that
Mm,
you can get a network established of people who will recognize your face, recognize you, and might even allow you to come on their land to purchase food from them. So you want to make friends. You want to tell them your name. You want to shake their hand. You want to support them. And then that way you also know the quality of the food that you're eating. And that's very important to
absolutely.
note.
And I always continue to urge churches that have land. And what we want to offer to these churches is our expertise and to helping you. If you want help to start a garden on your land, then please contact us, because we're looking at these churches with these acres of land and nothing but all they're doing is mowing the grass. And we're saying that, if you really want to be a servant to your congregation, then the best thing for you to start doing is to go out there and break that dirt and start planting some seed in that ground. Or if the soil is not adequate, then of course raise gardens. But then, like you were saying, Brother Aaron, for those who do live in apartments, you are not left out. There's what's called vertical gardens, where you can get these vertical, and I don't have them in front of me, but you have these vertical plots that you stagger, and they stack up on each other. And you can definitely begin to grow some food right in your apartment. Also, if you have an extra room, stock some water, get some water up in your apartment. So that's some of the what he was talking about right there with the possible government shutdown. And it's a shame that that every it seems like every time the government shut down, there's a possibility of one. It just has the American people on edge, and I think that once again, when you listen to programs like C-SPAN, and you listen to the people who are calling in, the American people are so dissatisfied with the government, with the Congress, with the Senate, with the Supreme Court, and they're even dissatisfied with the Oval Office, on one side or the other. So these are very perilous times, and we'll go from there. Any current events that you would like to bring up, and then we'll go get into some more.
Well, there's one that happened overnight. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to keep my ears peeled on this, but something's going on in Washington. Emergency meeting's been called. Um, Kamala Harris was rounded up. They went and got Biden, brought him in overnight, and everything's a closed door. They're not sharing no information at this time. But
Hmm.
it's kind of scary that they went and got the president, vice president, brought them back to the White House, and they've been in this closed door session discussing something. And
Hmm.
for them to be so secretive about it, it's kind of almost scary as to what possibly could it be. Now I know
Yeah.
that the FBI prevented a Christmas Day attack in New York. They thwarted it. Uh, a guy, I guess, was trying to build a bomb, was going to attack the Israeli consulate with it. They got wind of it. Somebody noticed what he was looking at on the internet, bomb making information, and they got onto him and they rounded him up. Thank God. But
Mm.
there are rumors of other attacks that they're expecting to see. A lot of it directed toward New York City. So I'd advise people to be aware of your surroundings. Don't take nothing for granted. Don't be so into the holiday season that you're not watching for the wickedness that's out there in this world that wants to do
Right.
harm. Because just remember one thing, bad things do happen to good people. And there's people
Hmm.
out there that want to do you harm over this holiday season. So stay aware of your surroundings right now. Did you want to add
Yeah, I
something,
would just
Steve, or you want me to keep going? Okay.
I definitely agree with you. I would just stay out of large crowds. I would just stay out of large crowds and gatherings, to be honest. Especially, we have New Year's coming up, and a number of people will be in Times Square. And you don't have just, you know, internal issues, you have external issues that, you know, from there I mean, there's just so much going on. It's just such a perilous time that it's definitely time to be vigilant and very aware of your surroundings. And I would just, if I was, to give any advice, it would be just go to A to B, get what you have to get, and get back home to a safe place, because everybody's on edge. There was an incident today. I forget what country it was in, where an individual drove a car through a crowd of people, killing a number of people. And so we see this type of thing going on. What we're looking at right now too is, what's the young Italian man's name? Mangione or something like that, where he assassinated the head of one of the healthcare companies. And so
Mhm.
you see the American people applauding him. I think there was a recent sports event where his name was mentioned, and the people in the stadium were applauding, and this just goes to show you that the American people are so dissatisfied with the corporate, the way that the corporate elite are just, making hand over fist. And this government shutdown was just another sign of that, because even though the government was shut down, those who were in government would continue to get paid. Those congressmen and senators, but contractors and those who work outside the government, you're just in tough luck. And right around the Christmas season, on top of that, so this just shows that there's just an and that those who are in leadership are so out of touch with the masses of the people, and this is a spells disaster, if you ask me.
Mhm.
Um, if I can, I want to read just this thing on the healthcare. It talks about medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in the US, with studies estimating that 66.5% of personal bankruptcies are linked to medical expenses or illness related income loss. Approximately 530,000 families file for medical bankruptcy annually. I mean, so I mean, no one wants to no one I mean, the assassination of this individual who is the head of this healthcare industry is something that we definitely don't want to see occur. And while the mainstream media would like to vilify the young man, think of what I just said and how these individuals over these healthcare industries are making hand over fist, and they're making hand over fist by denying, certain access to proper health care, or they are charging such an astronomical rate that the people are filing for bankruptcy. It says 17% of adults with health care debt report declaring bankruptcy or losing their homes due to medical costs. Vulnerable groups include families with disabilities, those without full health insurance, and middle class households facing unexpected illnesses or injuries. And another thing that you look at with the healthcare industry is that if you stub your toe and you go to the wrong hospital, and that hospital is not in your network, you might receive a bill for thousands of dollars. And then you look on the bill and you see what you're being charged for, and it's ibuprofen. So it's like, it's just ridiculous. It's out of control. And so I think that, unfortunately, this assassination has put a spotlight on the greed of the healthcare industry. But go right ahead. Anything that you wanted to say as far as that's
I'm gonna
concerned?
add to what you're saying because I was in the hospital for I think 3 days one time, and they was
Mm,
checking me for a possibility of a heart attack. And just those 3 days, I was looking at over 20 something $1,000 of debt,
come on.
hospital debt. And I'm like, was I staying in a royal palace somewhere? And I didn't get that much personal care. So other than laying there in the bed, I mean, I couldn't figure out what I
Right.
was being charged for. And that's the whole reason why I've had people tell me that they've been putting money back into their retirements. They're saving up. I've had some even show me that they've
Mm,
had saved up over $100,000 or more.
mm.
And I looked at them and they seemed really confident. I said, they looked at me and said, why you got that look on your face? I said, well, I don't want to bust your bubble. They said, no, go on, say it. I said, it's great that you were able to put that kind of money back. However, you're just one major accident, one major illness, one major operation away from being bankrupt. Any one of
Absolutely.
those two
Right.
things happen, and that 100,000 will disappear in smoke, and you'll be
Mm,
in the red looking all how much higher the bills are going to be rolling in on you. And it's
absolutely.
ridiculous that they can do that.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous that they can do that. And I'll just close it out with this on that event. It says the U.S. healthcare system is often seen as being driven by profit rather than patient care. Many perceive the financial motives led to prioritizing profits over patients' needs, contributing to high costs and inefficiencies. The profit driven nature can result in overtreatment and unnecessary procedures. Unnecessary procedures, meaning that, I'll give you, for instance, since I have a nonprofit and we do health and wellness programs. And one of the issues for pregnant women is that by having a natural birth, there's no money in natural birth. So many women go into the hospital and they can give a natural birth, but they instead receive a section. Why? Because bringing out that knife and cutting is more money for the healthcare, for the doctors and the healthcare industry. So these are unnecessary procedures that this is talking about. And it says, as providers seek to maximize revenue. However, there are efforts to implement patient centered care, which focuses on respecting patient. Um, and that's somewhere off in the future right there for sure. One of the things that I wanted to read here real quick was on how the here, where is it at? Here it goes. It talks about the healthcare industry. It says the US healthcare system consistently ranks last among high income countries in overall performance, despite spending nearly twice as much per capita as healthcare. Key issues, but I won't go into the key issues, but here is a healthcare industry where, yeah, as it's saying, it's spending twice as much, but the people are twice as sick as other industrialized countries. So there's definitely a problem there. And unfortunately, this situation was one where I think the young man had some type of back injury. And if you've ever had a back injury, I mean, a back injury is almost it's immobilizing. But I think he had a back injury and just went through so much to get the proper care that he needed. And I think that he was able to get that, but I don't know. It may have driven him, it could have possibly caused him to snap. Who knows? But we see a lot of that starting to take place, and that's why we say we're looking at cracks in the foundation. People are beginning to break up, and even our babies are beginning to break up. They're going into these schools armed to the teeth and with the thought of creating as much damage, as much death as possible before they take themselves out. And I think that this is something that is um, uh, more than just a mental health issue. We're looking at a societal issue where there are perverse incentives instead of one where it is cultivating in us a desire for us to serve our fellow human beings. These perverse incentives like greed. The Minister Farrakhan in the Torchlight America, he said that greed, lust, and inordinate self-interest are what's guiding those who are in power today. But we'll go on into another issue. Anything that you want to go into, go right ahead.
Okay, well, I'd like to bring up the drone situation that's going on in our country right now.
Right.
Um, Originally, they started off in New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, and they were seeing these drones were the size of SUVs or little Volkswagens. And
Right.
you know, people were saying, well, they're just hobbyists. I mean, those drones were flying around for an entire month before we ever heard about it. And then the news was trying to tell us that They were just seeing things. They were just airplanes or
Right.
other or hobbyists out there flying drones. I know a lot of people that own drones, and I don't know a single person that owns one that's the size of an SUV.
Mm.
That drone will cost so much money. There's no way they could afford one. So
Mhm.
I don't know where they're getting that from. They were seen flying back out to the ocean, coming in from the ocean as though there was a mothership or something out there. I even saw one video where they were flying into the water and out
Mm.
in the ocean. So,
Mhm.
I looked to characteristics to see what was going on. And there was a sheriff, him and his deputy got in a helicopter, flying about 50 feet above one. They called themselves going to try to capture one or follow it. And this thing was aware of their presence
Mm.
and was going to try to ram them, knock them out of the
Mm.
sky. So they had to back off. Others have flown little small drones up to them, and then when they get so close to them, suddenly the small drones fall out of the sky, which
Mm.
means these drones have some sort of EMP effect. Because when they picked up the drones that they sent up to try to scout them with, the batteries on them were drained.
Mm.
So that means it's got some sort of EMP, and these drones are acting in such a manner that is more advanced than anything we've ever seen. They're almost acting as though they're AI controlled instead of a person controller behind a remote somewhere. Uh,
Mhm.
they're very aware of when objects are moving in on them, and
Mhm.
they're being seen all around the world. Anywhere there's a UK base or a United States base, these things are popping up. Hell, right here in Ohio, right past an Air Force base, last
Right.
Friday, they had shut down for 4 hours because
Mhm.
drones, and I'm talking a swarm of them, came onto the base, and they had to go into a lockdown and send out security to take up positions in case of a possible attack. Then this week,
Mhm.
Tuesday and Wednesday night, drones reappeared over Wright Patterson. Now, a lot of people are trying to point the finger at the Chinese because, truthfully,
Mhm.
the Russians, North Korea, and Iran just don't have the sophistication. The only one
Mm.
that would come close would be China. Now, all these military bases across the United States, and this could be a conspiracy,
Mm.
but you look into it, you'll see the bases that are being scouted by these drones. There's Chinese interests that owns land right next to the bases. So that could be a coincidence,
Right.
but it seems awfully strange that this is happening to the military bases where China owns land next to those bases.
Right.
Now,
Right. And then
and
yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I
Go
just
ahead,
wanted
Steve.
to yeah, chime in on what you're saying, and that, what we're getting from the government and the mainstream media is basically nothing. We were like they have nothing to say as far as what's going on as far as these drones. But I did hear today that I think it was New Jersey that they're temporarily banning drones from flying over there in the airspace. But once again, we still don't know where these drones came from, who they came from, what they were doing over military bases at that.
Yeah.
So this is once again, this is something to where war is unpredictable, and those who think that they have the army or the resources and they're so mighty and powerful, we read about them in history books. I mean, the war is unpredictable, and yeah, this is just one of those things. I'm not saying that this is some enemy forces, but we don't know what it is. This is what I'm saying, because we're not being told what it is at all. We don't know if they are even something that could be uh other worldly higher technology than what we're presently know of. So Yeah, this is definitely something right here with the drones.
Now, I'm also make this statement here recently. Orbs have suddenly appeared with some of the
Hmm.
drones, and when some of the jet fighters tried to follow them, those things left our fighters in the dirt. One of them was clocked at going Mach 15. We don't have nothing
Mm.
that can fly that fast. So it's amazing to me that this is happening. A few
Hmm.
days ago, the feed that comes in over the internet from the International Space Station, it runs
Mm.
nonstop, live feed. Two orbs came into that and
Mm.
started coming close to the space station, and suddenly NASA cuts the feed and
Right.
takes it down. I might still be able to see it in some YouTube videos, but you could clearly see it.
Mm.
And the drones, what I've noticed is they're hovering over our military bases, they're hovering over our infrastructure, our water purification plants, our power grid areas, our government buildings. I don't know if we're being reconned right now or what, but if you go by what the FBI is saying, they can't figure it out. Homeland Security can't figure it out. Don't know who they belong to. FAA have recently changed their rules. They only want people to fly their drones at night, and then they turned around like and did what you said, and then they went a step further by saying that if anyone shoots one down, that
Hmm.
will be a federal offense and you will be
Hmm.
charged. Now, some people say shoot them down. I've heard of two incidences here recently down south where some did get shot down, and I guess they're being analyzed, but they're told not to do it because they could be carrying a bio weapon. It could be a chemical weapon. It could be something nuclear. But then if you go by another thing that story that they put out, the government, they claimed that there was a container taken off of a container vessel, loaded onto a truck that had
Mm.
nuclear waste or some sort of nuclear
Hmm.
medical equipment on it.
Right.
And there's some sort of hole in the floor, and that it leaked through, and these drones are up there sniffing for this nuclear whatever.
Right.
Another story
Yeah, I did see
similar.
that.
One.
Hmm.
Another story. Container that came in on a container ship. When they took it off and examined it, it was empty. The contents of the nuclear material and components that was on it was all stolen. That's the second
Mm.
story, dealing with a container. The third story is that there is a backpack nuke or a suitcase nuke or some sort of radiological devices that could be made into a dirty bomb, and that they're in Newark, New Jersey, and they're trying to find it. So no matter which way you go, I mean, there's the guy that you see on TV, the military guy from the Pentagon, that's
Mm.
Major General Ryder.
Hmm.
They asked him the question, can the drones be doing recon and be able to be weaponized? He had to admit yes, but he also tried to say that they don't feel that they're a threat. When they asked him, do you know that for sure? He started stuttering and stammering. They asked him also, are the drones are not military assets. He said that himself, that they're not US military assets. So
Mm.
if that's the case, if a foreign government is in here violating our airspace, and I'm going to give people a chance to look back and remember the Chinese spy balloons that was allowed to fly all around the United States, mapping stuff before they finally
Hmm.
shot them down. If someone's in here violating our airspace, and all military bases are no-fly zones, you're not allowed to fly over them. So
Right.
why are we letting, if these are not military assets, why are we letting this stuff come in here and fly around and do their mapping or whatever they're doing? And then two of
Hmm.
the drones that were down in the Carolinas was seen spraying a liquid.
Hmm.
So what is that? Is it a chemical
Mm.
weapon? Is it a biological weapon? Well, why would they be spraying anything? And I even saw the
Hmm.
videos of that, so I know that it took place. So
Mm.
You know, if this, I'm gonna say there's three rationales that people are trying to say right now. Most feel that it's China, and this is their sophistication. Some feel it's a false flag, and in the false flag, we're going to bring up the name Project Bluebeam, the fake
Mhm.
alien attack that will cause a certain amount of destruction and kill a certain amount of people to make Americans think that an attack is coming from space or whatever.
Mhm.
But wherever the attack is coming from, or and if that's a false, and if it's a false flag, then what is going to be the end game here? The end game is going to be to create fear and cause the demand from the population to ask the government to do something about it. Now,
Mhm.
if the government steps forward and says, okay, we can do something about it, but we're going to have to declare martial law here. Um, we're going to have to nullify the election through the War Powers Act. Uh, we're going to have to, there's going to be a loss of civil liberties to guarantee safety. If you want safety, we're going to have to take away some of your liberties here. That's all a real possibility, because if people
Mhm.
become scared enough, they're going to demand something. And I don't know if it was Benjamin Franklin or Thomas Jefferson said that if you're willing to give up your liberties to achieve safety, you deserve neither. You know,
Right.
so and then Donald Trump had a press conference like 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning the other day, and he clearly stated that the military knows exactly what they are and where they're from, and they're
Mm.
not being honest with the American public. He stated that. Now I know that he's just president elect. He's not making no laws. He can't do nothing until January 20th. But they are giving him security briefings, and
Mhm.
based upon security briefings, he canceled his trip to New Jersey,
Hmm.
and that's where the drones are. He's not going there. He canceled them. That thing. Whatever the security briefings told him, he said, "I'm not going there now." So
Right.
to me, the drones don't represent nothing good. Whether it's
Right.
China scoping us out, whether there's a false flag thing going on here within the country, whether they're searching for nuclear material or a suitcase bomb or a backpack
Mhm.
nuke, whatever it is, those drones don't represent nothing good. And
Right.
if we're not careful, we're not mightily careful, there's going to be an attack that's going to occur in the United States. And I would guess sometime next year, it will occur in the United States and it will come from within the United States. And that would leave us no one to go after or be able to attack in retaliation.
Mhm.
So I don't want to
Yeah.
say for sure that's going to happen. I don't want to come across, but I do believe that if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you got
Right.
food and water and different things stocked up, great. Because when this attack happens, whatever it is, in whichever way, shape, or form it comes, it's going to be sudden. Things are going to escalate quickly, and you don't want to be caught flat footed and not be able to bunker down. I got to go out there and buy resources. I got to go do this or that. Everyone's going to be doing that at the last minute.
Right.
So you don't want to be out there doing that kind of
Mm.
stuff. So
Yeah. And
that's
absolutely.
just
And
the way
we're
it is right now. Yeah.
and that's why we say, go to our Patreon site, join that site. We're looking at uh, building another site that would be more advanced than that site, and to be able to offer those of you who are watching those type of survival items that you need that are necessary. Uh, Brother Aaron was talking about the possibility of some type of nuclear or radiation. And so you definitely need to get some iodine pills to guard your thyroid. And you need, so definitely go to our Refuge Depot. It's on Patreon. Follow us on all the social media platforms. Just type in Refuge Depot. One of the things that I just wanted to let the people know if they've never heard of Project Bluebeam. I wanted to let them know what that is. And Project Blue Beam, um, it is, in some cases they say that it's a conspiracy, but it claims that the global elite, particularly NASA and the United Nations, aim to implement a new age religion led by the Antichrist using advanced uh, holo, holographic technology to simulate supernatural events or alien invasions. This is purportedly intended to manipulate public perception and establish a totalitarian world government by undermining traditional religions. And so, in essence, what they're saying, Project Bluebeam, is a holographic image that they are able to project into space or into the air, and to make you see what's not actually there. But once again, you know, I don't even know why anybody today would even say that these conspiracies are even theories. I think that at this point, most of these so-called conspiracy theories have become fact. And so this is something that I think that it's definitely something that we want to make the people aware of. Um, I see brother Sanford, he's trying to get in, and we'll get him in when he gets everything together. But yeah, definitely, the drones and everything, that's definitely something that is um is suspicious, to say the least. And when
I
you
mean,
have even President Trump, saying that he doesn't even know. I think that that's pretty despicable when it comes down to our national defense. That's pretty bad. I
well,
wanted to
well,
say a little bit about Joe Biden, right? Going back just a little bit, I wanted to say a little bit about Joe Biden and how his administration was covering up how fragile he was. Um, and to think that they were going to allow him to be the leader of the world's most powerful nation, and him being in this fragile state where they were literally telling him what direction to turn, and all of these type of things because of his mind being so old, if you will. And another thing that I wanted to throw out there is that it just seems odd. It seems like the Biden administration is doing everything that it possibly can to either stay in office by, creating some international incident, and then what you had just said earlier about some secretive meeting. I just it just sounds too fishy to me. It just sounds too um it just sounds nefarious to me, because I do know that when we look at Trump in the lead up to these elections and these assassinations, that many of these individuals who were trying to assassinate him were linked to, I think it's a organization called BlackRock. Um, but that is very suspicious. So I think that as we approach the inauguration, that anything might jump off. It just seems like we need to just be prepared uh, as far as our homes and our state of mind as well. You want
yeah, I
to
would agree.
let's yeah.
I
So
agree
that
with you on
that's
that. I
hmm
would like to go into Ukraine a little bit if you've got a
yeah,
few more
sure.
minutes. Okay, that latest attack on that Russian general that was investigating, I say, the biolabs that were in
hmm
Ukraine that were supposedly run by Hunter Biden, and he gets knocked off. I
Right.
hope they don't think that by knocking that man off that that would end that investigation, because whoever would be next in succession would take over where he left off and would be provided with the same information that he was provided with.
Hmm.
So, but by Ukraine doing that, Putin feels, because Putin had just came on the air earlier, and his speech he got, what I took from it was he's almost felt that he's taken about all he's going to take from the United States
Hmm.
and NATO, interference and doing things and taking Russian lives. And
Right.
if they continue to step across the red line, he's going to have to take serious action. Well, 2 hours later, they kill that guy,
Right.
and Putin sways up and down that that smells of NATO, United States, CIA, and Ukraine intelligence, and all of them working together to pull that off. Now, I've seen those
Hmm.
bicycle bombs in Vietnam. I remember Viet Cong used to do that to assassinate people with. So I kind of was like, boy, they reached way back in the playbook to pull that thing out. But it was very effective. It got the job done. But now you've opened a door. You've opened a door that now the Russians can step through and say, well, you did it first. And we're
Right.
going to knock off Zelensky. We're going to knock off the whole cabinet. We know where they're at. We know where the capital is, where they're staying. We're going to start knocking you off one at a time, or we can knock you
Yeah.
off at a group using a big ballistic missile of some type. But they open the door, and I hope that when Russia comes stepping through, that they know what they were doing. But there's a real good chance that this could be a major escalation. That as soon as Russia escalates, NATO might have to step in with an
Hmm.
escalation on their end, just to just to go tit for tat. But
Hmm.
people need
Yeah.
to stay prepared. They need to have water stock, food stock. The Russians are telling their people, and China's telling their people, prepare for war with the United States. Start stocking up everything. They're building nuclear shelters, bomb shelters. Europe is building stuff. Here in the United States, we're not being told to do anything. And
Hmm.
then here recently, when FEMA finally said something, they said to stock up 3 days worth of food and water. That's nothing. That's nothing.
Right.
So, I mean, if a nuke goes off in the United States, I hope people realize that the supply chain will immediately break down if it's a terrorist attack. Our stock market is going to collapse overnight, and money is going to stop flowing. And then
Hmm.
there's going to be widespread panic 3 or 4 days later when they start noticing that the food trucks and transportation isn't running. I mean, if a nuke goes off, it's going to have an EMP effect as well, and it's going to shut down stuff. And that's another thing that's going on too. I didn't know if you're aware of this or not,
Mm.
but we've been buying all of our big transformers that weigh like 400 tons from
Right.
China.
Hmm.
And they took one and broke it down, and they found things in it that apparently China remotely or through their satellites could shut it down anytime they get good and ready.
Mm.
So they don't have to hit us with an EMP. They can flip a switch and
Right.
shut our power grid off. And it takes 2 to 3 years to build one. And right now
Mm.
they're being built in South Korea and Germany. But like I said, they weigh 400 tons. They have to
Mm.
reinforce bridges and stuff to bring one on a truck that's
Hmm.
super long. Uh,
Mm.
but knowing that China built back doors into them, and we got them all around our country right now, it is
My goodness.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Right.
giving your enemies a chance, and now these drones are appearing around our military bases where China owns land right next to the military bases. I
Mm.
mean, we're being scouted for a possible attack, I feel, but that's just one man's opinion. But
Yeah.
if you're ready for what's coming, you don't have to fear anything. So when you
Right.
hear people
Right.
say people to prepare are scared, no, they're not. No, they're not.
Hmm.
I mean, one cop asked the lady why she had 5 guns. Who was she scared of? She said, I would be scared of nobody. I got 5
Mm,
guns. Why do I got to be scared for?
right.
So people to have that perception that people that prepare are afraid and live in fear. Nope, not us. But
Hmm.
when it goes down and you're the one that's panicking because you're not ready, don't come running our way because I don't have nothing for you.
Man.
But I'll
And
stick here, Steve.
yeah, we look like we got Brother Sanford, and we're gonna bring him in. Yes. Hey, greetings, brother.
How you brothers doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. Just talking over these crazy current events, and then I think we only talked about two topics so far. It's so crazy, and to go into depth into some of these, just these two topics that we talked about, it's just wild.
Yeah,
Um,
it's out of control right now. I heard Aaron kind of talking about you guys talking about the drone situation.
right. Yep, we were talking about the drone situation, and before that, we were talking about the out of control healthcare system. That has, that caused this young man to assassinate one of the heads of the healthcare industry establishments, right? And that the mainstream media is demonizing him, but the street media, the masses of the people are seeing him and holding him up as a hero in some respects. So it just goes to show you that there's a gulf, there's a great divide between the American people and those who are ruling over the American people. And I think this was the same situation if you read back in history that we read about in the fall of Rome, in the fall of Rome. Absolute corruption and the masses of the people hurting to the point where they just revolted. But if you wanted to chime in on any of those two topics, or if you want to bring up another one, go right ahead.
No, I like I said, I came in late. I apologize.
No, you fine.
I had a late evening of some other work I had to do. So I listened to you brothers for a while, and I stayed back for a while because it was flowing so well. It was
Yeah.
entertaining to me. I wish I could have called in with some questions. I would.
Right?
When you talk about it's interesting because it's me talking to people locally about the gentleman with the healthcare company that lost his life.
Mhm,
It's interesting. The older people that I
mhm,
spoke to, and I say people that are over 50,
mm,
um, their their look at it, the people I spoke to was like, it was horrible that this man did this. And I do think it's horrible to take somebody's life. I think that's a
mhm,
horrible act. I don't, maliciously take somebody's life. That's a horrible act. But what's
mhm,
interesting when I talk to people like in their 20s, they were almost like had a rebellious attitude, like, well, what you think is going to happen? I thought that was an
mhm,
interesting dynamic to hear from people in their 20s and mid late 20s, as opposed to people in their 50s and above. So the people in their 20s, it's almost like they weren't really concerned about the loss of his life. They were thinking about uh, the purpose, in their mind.
mhm, mhm,
That right there shows an interesting divide as far as morality, because
mhm,
even with that gentleman being the CEO, the CEO don't make all the decisions. It's
mhm,
bigger than that one man. You know what I mean? You got a
mhm,
board, you got millions of people, then you got the powers to be above that make some decisions. And one of the things I don't hear people talk about, a couple of months prior to this happening, he spoke out against the healthcare industry, saying that a lot of people really don't realize how much corruption there is. So
mm,
I would not be shocked if it comes out later on that it's much bigger than this young man. You know,
mhm.
that wouldn't shock me at all. And it's
Right.
unfortunate. The whole thing's unfortunate. The healthcare system is unfortunate. The fact that somebody took one man's life, and the reality is it's not going to change it. You know, that's
Mhm.
unfortunate. Man, I
That's
don't.
really unfortunate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man. That's unfortunate because you just ruined another family. You ruined generations of people. You know, Unfortunately, man, I don't know. I don't know where we are, man. I was looking at a thing that said the United States of America educational system is ranked 13th in the
Hmm.
world. Uh, I was shocked they said it was that high, to be
Right.
honest with you. But I think we've lost so many moral things. We've lost such a moral foundation, and and then with morality comes just the lack of education and the acceptance of all this, whatever we want to do until we get back to a moral foundation, man. You and I don't. And people might, I don't know if I should say this or not, but I
Mm.
really believe if you get away from the nuclear family like we have,
Right.
we are all byproducts. This whole system now is a byproduct of getting away from the nuclear family.
I absolutely agree with that. And I was listening to one speaker, and he really brought some things to light. He was saying that the system that we living in now, it seems like it's not designed to bring people together, but to bring people to divide people. And he said even the social media platforms that you would think would be bringing people together is actually causing people to be um more in a box, if you will, alienated. Some of for instance, for young people, some of the imagery that they see on social media causes them to have a self-doubt. Then they see these images of people who put these nice pictures and everything, and then it makes people feel to some degree inadequate. Then there's a report that has come out that's talking about loneliness in America, that people are dying from loneliness. I mean, it's bad. This thing is so ridiculous that it's gotten bad. But we did a program on the education real quick to just touch on that. We did a program on education, and come to find out that the educational system was taken over by Rockefeller, and that he designed a system that would educate the populace to be drones, to be workers, to not think
Yeah.
outside the box, to not be creative. And so now you have a situation where a lot of people are rejecting the educational system because you have, for instance, the student loans, where people have these astronomical student loans for a education that they can't even use anymore because their job has been taken over by artificial intelligence. This whole thing is beyond ridiculous. Beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah.
And one last thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one last thing on education. I know that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that education, it civilizes human beings, and that if you don't have a proper education, that's when you begin to see a nation become savage. And then you build on top of what you just said, that family is the root, it's the nucleus of a healthy nation. Where you don't have healthy families, you don't have a healthy nation. So you take education, which is meant to civilize us, to make us civil and productive, that's gone. And then you take the nuclear family. So who's teaching the children? Who's teaching the children? Listen to the music, drill rap, gangster rap. You have these video games, Call of Duty, all of it is just violence, violence, violence. So when you talk about the assassination of the head of the healthcare industry, it's no surprise that you that you would get that type of because it's not even their fault. They're being almost trained to be insensitive, but at the same time, and I'll end it with this: at the same time, young people are very aware that things are not right. They're very aware. I think more than the older generation, that things are not right. And they're getting their information from TikTok or whatever, and they're saying, yeah, this is bad. So
Yeah,
I just want
I
to throw
agree.
that in there.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right. I'm gonna go back to the family, and I say this all the time. I'm telling you, and I believe this to my core. All the things you mentioned are 100% relevant. Even with the social media and the AI, I think that influence is so strong because a lack of the nuclear family, though.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you said when I came up, you sat around, we ate dinner together. You know what I mean? Just that
Right.
part of it. When
Yep.
your father spoke, you listened, and your father spoke about something, and the values and stuff that they talked about, and the things they talked about when they were coming up, and that what would be considered hardships, and like you never go through this if you can keep yourself from going through this. I mean, we've allowed, unfortunately, the lack of the nuclear family has allowed AI to be present.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed AI to be present where it has that kind of influence. Because I believe if you are taught correctly from the beginning, that when AI becomes present to you, you have enough good sense to kind of differentiate what is really meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't have that foundation, you get what we have now.
Right.
And and,
I mm-hmm.
and until we decide that we're tired of it, we have to decide that we're tired of it. Until we decide we're tired of it, and it's not going to happen. And what is bad, we become so spoiled, and we become so used to being to having these conveniences where we had nothing hard to happen, um, that we just take all this for granted. I hate to say this, but I do believe that the only thing that can fix this is some kind of act of war, or some kind of something that almost busts you down completely to your knees to let you know that that phone could be cut off, and now what you gonna do? That television can be cut off, and then what you gonna do? That television,
Right.
I call it an idiot box. That can be cut
Mm-hmm.
off. Then what you gonna do? Um, so I hate to say it, but I think something devastating has to happen to put us in a place where we step back and say, "Hold up, man," because we it is so convenient.
Mm.
It is so convenient that we don't realize the struggle is real.
Mm.
And even the people who think they're doing okay, they don't realize they're struggling.
They don't.
They don't realize they're struggling. It has become
Mm-hmm.
so convenient. And this is why we out of order. We are completely out of order. And I'm talking about from God all the way down, from God to man, man to woman, woman over child. We don't want to hear that no more. But until you
Mm-hmm.
fix that, it's gonna keep getting worse. You're gonna keep having these problems. And I think it's a shame that you have no real voices standing up and saying it.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think it's a shame. I think
I
it's a
definitely
shame.
have to agree with you. And and when you talked about that AI raising, raising, you might not have said raising the children, but I heard a commercial where a little girl, she was waking up to, I think she asked the first question was like, do plants feel pain? Something like that. And then the AI answered her. And then she said, she woke up in the morning, she said, morning, whatever the AI was called, and the AI said a morning, like it wasn't sunshine, but it was like morning something, and the little girl giggled. And I'm thinking to myself, so the first thing this little girl is going to wake up to is this artificial intelligence and start communicating with the, and so this is the commercial that we should be happy that AI is in our home so that we don't have to be parents anymore. This is a shame.
Right.
This is a shame.
We need to stand up and ban this crap. It started with Alexa, all that crap.
Mhm.
Yeah, come on, man. We come on, man. Thinking ain't illegal yet. Come on, man. You so like look at that subliminal programming. And that's direct
It
programming
is.
for real. You teach that little girl to do that, and now you got the deviation process starting. Then you got grown men instead of learning how to have relationships with women, they buying robots, they buying AI
Mhm.
figures that have skin that feel like human beings. Man, come on, man. We headed straight. I mean, woo-wee, it's going straight down, 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 baby. And and you know what? We are so I don't want to use that phrase woke, but we are so convinced that it's not okay to tell people the truth. We just keep let them live a lie. I ask
Mm.
people I know when they say something, and I say, "What lie you want me to tell you? What lie you want me to tell you?" Yeah,
Ain't it the truth?
yeah. Let's get to the truth, and we got to look in the
Right.
mirror, man. And I'm gonna say something about minority people.
Mm,
I'm gonna say something about minority people.
mm,
Stop complaining if you're not gonna
mhm,
do what you need to do. Take care of your own backyard. If you take care of your own backyard, you can fix your own problems. Take
mhm.
care of your own backyard. Because if you're looking for
Absolutely.
somebody to come save you, it ain't gonna happen. It ain't happened yet. It ain't gonna happen.
That's it. Yep. I
Take care
definitely
of your
agree
own
with that.
backyard.
We gotta take responsibility. Gotta take responsibility. And I think that one of the things that you're saying is that I think that things are gonna have to get so hard that that's gonna be the reality that sets in because that is the only reality. The
The
only
only
reality that ever has existed is that we have to depend on each other. That's the only reality. We can't continue to live in these silos or in these you know uh fractured communities where we don't even know each other. You know what I mean? And we don't even work together. So yeah, I definitely want to agree with you on that. Um is there Let's see here. Did we want to touch on any more? I wanted to just touch on a few current events. We had a 7.0 magnitude earthquake that rattled California coast that had triggered a tsunami warning. I know that was some time ago, but we're hearing more and more of these earthquakes. And once again, like you're saying, Brother Aaron, people need to be prepared. I think that one of the programs that we were thinking about doing in the future is what are some of the dangers that are in your state, in your vicinity. I think that many people, like you're saying, brother Sanford, is that um, we're not aware. We're not aware of our reality and the dangers that are in our reality. So I would suggest for people to start to understand what are the dangers that are in your state and to prepare for those type of dangers. If you have a situation where in your area you have flooding, it might be wise to get you an inflatable raft um, or something such as that. So just little simple things like like you all are saying that we can prepare for that we don't have to be caught. I don't want to say with our pants down, but we don't have to be caught off guard. That's what I'll say.
Well,
Um,
you know what though? The one thing I want people to think about is this: we we need to feel good as people. We need to feel good so bad that we have created this space where we want to say, well, we're not as bad as so and so, or
mm,
it's not as bad as so and so, as opposed to just being better and doing the right thing. You want to try to find somebody or some situation worse off than what you are to make you feel good about the crap that you got yourself in, as opposed to
hmm
looking at reality. And so that goes back to everything you're saying. That goes back to even being in an environment that's unsafe. Goes back to being in an environment you unprepared for. That you want to look at somebody else so bad that you make you feel good about what you think you got going on or what you think is happening good for you. And really, the bottom line is you're in a world of crap.
Mhm.
You're in a world
I
of crap.
think and I think in psychology, it's called denial, you know? You're living in denial. And I think that a lot of Americans who are maybe doing somewhat well are living in denial, about the situation. And the media makes it it makes it so convenient for us to live in denial. It talks about it talks about, how how people are taking flights and flights are up and people are traveling here and there, and it talks about how I think the retail industry is doing so well. And then it'll turn right around and it'll tell you that Amazon workers are striking because they're not getting enough pay. It'll tell you that the pantries are overflowing with people because they don't make enough money to bring in adequate food into their homes. So which one is it? So it's a denial, and the mainstream media, which is controlled by corporate America, continues to pump to the American people these lies about the reality in which we live. And I think, like both of you are saying, at some point the curtain is going to be pulled back, and it's going to be a shock that to how bad the situation is. And before you came on, we just played a clip by, I think it was who was it, by the head of the house or whatever, talking about the passing the budget. And but he was talking about how the farmers had been suffering for 3 years consecutively, he said. 3 years. But the mainstream media, they're not talking about this crisis and how bad the American farmers are suffering. And if they're suffering, guess what? We're going to suffer. So yeah, just want to throw that out there.
Brother
Brother
Aaron, I
Aaron,
saw
did
you wanted to
you
say something.
Yeah, I mean,
go right
Steve had
ahead?
mentioned about 7 point something earthquake that was in California last weekend in Hamilton, which is Butler County. There's a 3.3. And if you
Mm,
notice, there's been a lot of earthquakes occurring in the Midwest here recently. I don't know if the new Madrid seismic zone is starting to get active, but there's been a bunch of lower earthquakes. Now, people told me in California, 3 point something, we don't even pay that no attention. Well, for
right.
someone that's never been through and it happened, that could be quite terrifying.
Mm,
So, Mother Nature's not going to call ahead and give you a warning as to when a disaster is going to occur. So, you could either get out in front of it and be ready for when bad things happen. And we're not saying not to go live your life. Go out and live your
mhm,
best life, enjoy your life, but just be prepared for the worst, just in case. Because I'm going to
absolutely.
tell you this,
And you
a lot of the
mhm,
migrants that they've let in here recently, if our power grid goes down, some of those people are going to be the best equipped to know how to deal with, because the countries they come from, they had no running water, they had no sanitation, they had to grow their own food, there was no
mhm,
electricity. They would be the best equipped to, through personal experience, to know how to deal when our power grid gets pulled down. And like I said, those drones that was hovering, they were hovering over our military bases and over our critical infrastructure. That's our
mhm,
water purification plants and our power grid. That's what they was hovering over in the government buildings. To me, that poses an active threat. It should be a national security issue. That General Ryder from the Pentagon said that those drones are not military assets. So that clearly violates our airspace. And like I said, the military bases have a no-fly zone in effect. So why aren't they shooting them down?
right.
I don't get why someone can come in here and do that. If it's not our stuff, then why is it being allowed to happen? And then we keep
Mhm,
being told so many different stories. And to me, for a government to be able to govern properly, there has to be a trust element between the people that they're governing and the leadership that was chosen to lead and govern them. And if the government is constantly lying to you, how can you trust
Constantly.
that these people have your best interests at heart? But I'm gonna stop there,
Mhm.
Steve.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And that's a real problem, is that I think that at this point, the American people, whether they're Republicans or Democrat, there's no trust in the government at all. And let's be honest though, because I say almost every program that we do that that the corruption is so absolute across every agency, whether it be the CDC, the FDA, the EPA. None of these agencies are really safeguarding the American people, like we were just talking about with the food recalls. I mean, it used to be when I was growing up, you would have a food recall maybe once or twice a year. But to have a food recall at one point, I think I was hearing a food recall almost time. I think I heard it twice a week, of food recalls. And so this is real bad. Yeah, all these agencies are failing the American people. And one of the reasons why, let's be honest, is that money plays a big part in the corruption that we see in a lot of these agencies, and that there's an overlap between the governmental agencies and the corporations. And I think that there has to be definitely some type of divide that doesn't allow that overlap to take place, where these corporations can influence the decisions that these agencies make on behalf of the American people. So one of the things that I just wanted to talk about as far as that is concerned is that you all probably know that they wanted to ban the dyes that are in candies. I think that red dye number 5 or something like that, because they found out. And let's be honest, Alex Jones, like 20 years ago, was talking about how these dyes were causing some of these adverse effects. He talked about aspartame, and he talked about high fructose corn syrup, and how high fructose corn syrup was highly addictive. And now we see that once again, these so-called conspiracy theories back in the day are facts today. And but yet we're not being protected from these harmful ingredients by these agencies. And to talk about the food ingredients in most European countries, some of the ingredients that are allowed here are banned in European nations, and even in China, they banned some of these ingredients that we are allowed to consume. Pitiful. It's disgraceful for real.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
found that some of those ingredients actually cause learning disabilities in children. It makes it difficult for them to learn. I don't want to say it's dumbing them down, but basically that's what we're doing to the American population. Um,
Hmm.
we're creating sicknesses through the food that we're being given to eat. And where's the protection from the FDA or the other agencies that are out there? Why aren't they protecting us from this stuff? Why do they allow it to happen and not say anything? And then when
Hmm.
enough people start suffering, like I don't know if you guys remember ephedra, uh, that was a big thing back in the day. If you was into bodybuilding and you want to get your heart rate
Hmm.
up and stuff, you took ephedra and you get that muscle pump. But enough people started dying from it, then suddenly the FDA, who originally passed it, now suddenly decided to ban it. And
Hmm.
and I'm like, wow, check this out. Now they
Hmm.
got a recall in for this antidepressant that's supposed to keep you from being depressed, but I guess it was killing people. And then
Mm.
this week there's a recall on doggy treats because they're killing the dogs. I mean,
Mm.
there's nothing but
I heard that
poisons
too.
out there. I mean, if
Hmm.
the food has been, if it's processed food, it's damn near poisonous anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's got the ingredients that you can't even, you have to get a dictionary out that breaks down each syllable because it's so hard to pronounce. And going back to what you were saying, Brother Sanford, is that some of these ingredients that are in these foods are causing this gender confusion. A lot of people are talking about bisphenol A and phthalates that are hormone inhibitors. They call them hormone inhibitors that are causing the male regenerative organ to shrink in each generation. And they say that the sperm rate of the American male has decreased dramatically because of the food that we're eating. And it's no wonder it's called the Food and Drug Administration because in truth, food is a
It's a
drug.
drug, right?
So yeah, this is out of control. And yeah, so I think let's see here. Uh if you all want to go into any more issues, we can, or if you want to begin to wrap it up, that's fine as well.
I just want to ask you, gentlemen, did you hear why they said they didn't want anybody to shoot down a drone?
One of the things that I
Yeah.
heard that were talking about is that they didn't know if there was some type of material that could possibly be dangerous to the population. That's one of the things that I heard why they didn't want it to be shot down. I just,
Yeah.
before you say something, Brother Aaron, I wanted to say that it's kind of suspicious too that that Russian guy general who was exposing the nuclear facilities in Ukraine was assassinated because one thing about Russia that America doesn't like, and that's why they banned Russian TV, is they expose a lot of things that the mainstream media and America won't expose to the American people. And so that's I just wanted to drop that in there because they're looking like you were saying, Brother Aaron, for you possibly those drones were looking for some type of nuclear waste or something. That's awful suspicious.
Well, I'm gonna say from what they said, if the drones were weaponized and they were carrying bioweapons, chemical weapons, or have a low yield nuke on it, you was to shoot it, you could cause the thing to release the contents of whatever's in it. So they were asking people not to shoot it down, and the FAA recently made it a federal offense if you shoot one down. Which
Mm.
I'm still amazed because there's so many stories being told, but Trump clearly said that the military knows exactly what they are. They know exactly where they're coming from, and that they're not being honest with the American public. Now, if you're
Mm.
not being honest with us, then there must be a threat out there that's so bad that you feel you can't tell us for fear that we're going to panic. But I'd like to feel that I'm a mature adult. I'm grown up. Tell me the truth. I
Right.
feel I can handle it.
Well, you know
And
Hmm.
what?
if I'm not, go ahead.
You know what? See, I think it's even bigger. I think what Mr. Trump saying is 100% true, and I also think that it's all a part of programming. I think it's all a
Mm.
part of psychologically already programming you not to defend yourself,
Mm.
psychologically programming you to think if you do defend yourself, it's going to destroy a whole bunch of other stuff. I think it's just like planting a seed. I think that's what I really believe. Because all those things could be possible. It could have nuclear capabilities. It can do all those things. It could not
Hmm.
also too. You know what I mean?
Right.
I, I,
No,
I am
I
so
definitely agree.
I am so to the point. where I see so much of this, how they plant seeds, and then a year or two later, here comes the growth of what they planted. And we were so stupid that we didn't use good sense to to do what we know and what instinctively is we know what to do. You know, no man. You know what? At some point, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything.
Yeah. That is so much.
At some point, if you don't stand
That's
for
the
something, you
truth.
fall for anything. That goes to 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 men playing women's sports. That goes. I mean, man, I don't mind. I don't know how clean we want to keep the show, but I don't mind telling it all. I don't,
Hey,
because at some point
at
you
some
got to
point,
say enough is enough because
enough is
it's
enough.
bigger than just us. I mean, we got kids, we got grandkids, we got future generations. We you know, it's already programmed, but everybody's gonna be one shade anyway. That seed's been planted. It's I mean, when you create one thought, one ideal, one way to walk, one sign to look at. No, what they really waiting on is my generation to die. See, once we die, the guys after us, they know they got them already fixed. Yeah,
Hmm.
they hoping we die quick as we can. And when you talk about the food, the ones below us, they know they're so unconscious because everything is instant that they eat enough of that food, they get enough of that poison in them. By the time they reach our age, it ain't gonna make a difference no way.
So let me chime in on what you're saying real quick, is because I just had seen a program and they talked about 4 generations, right? It says 4 generations when each generation passed down a lie. By the fourth generation, it becomes a culture.
That's right.
They don't even see it as a lie anymore. So I think that, I think you're absolutely right. Let's be honest. When they talked about men being, going through these transformations, what they call transformations into women and playing in women's sports, we all know that's madness. I think that they have made madness sanity, insanity madness, right? They made truth a lie and a lie to truth. Because just like you're saying, any natural born male is still going to be physically stronger than a female. And that puts our young girls in danger. That puts our young girls in jeopardy. Another thing that they're just crazy about is that just because this man wants to identify as a woman, that he should be able to go into a female's bathroom with a 12-year-old girl, um and relieve himself. This is mad. This is insanity right here. And that any sane people would reject will reject this type of thinking outright. We shouldn't feel as sane people that we are the fringe element of society. It used to be that the fringe element of society has become the norm, and the normal people have become the fringe element of society. And this is what I say about a society that is imploding in on itself, because there is no y- y- we all those of us who believe in God and believe in the supreme being, or let's just say believe in the universal order of things, that you can't break the law of nature. The law of nature you can get away with it for a while, just like you can speed down the highway. You can go down the highway and it say 55, you can go down that highway at 100, but at some point you're going to hit that brick wall. And so that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at that brick wall, and it's becoming more and more evident, like when they hit that brake and they can't stop the vehicle. That's it, you know but I don't want to keep on ranting, but to say something real clear, that's what happened to the Titanic.
That's
They
exactly
they they
right.
saw the iceberg and they tried to turn, and it was too late. It was too late. So, um, is there anything else that you all would like? Because I can keep we can keep going if you all have any other current events, because there's so many current events that are out here.
I just want to say what Brother Aaron was saying about, we go back about being prepared. It all goes back to what you were just saying and what I was saying. It's like it's not. It's like it is. They have subliminally programmed you not to be prepared, to be
Mm,
somebody who relies on this thing they have called a system. What, like the Matrix, as they say. And
mm,
and so I think every week as we talk, and some people might say, well, you guys get redundant on talking about being prepared. Well, you know what? Ain't no such thing as being redundant on being ready. You know,
mm,
be ready, so you ain't got to get ready. And I think we need to keep preaching and keep explaining to people, keep giving examples that people can go back to and find tangible things themselves to say, I know they said that 10 times, but you know what? In relation to this, that makes sense.
mm,
Somebody has to keep hitting the switch until the light come on. Somebody has to
mm.
do that. So I
I
think
agree
I,
with you.
I think we need to stay on the path of doing that. I think that it all needs to come back to accountability, like Aaron said, accountability, and if you prepared, you don't feel that panic. You don't feel that sense of anxiety. They got you so jacked up. They got you taking pills for anxiety instead of getting prepared, so you don't have to worry about the anxiety. Look, look
Mm-hmm.
at look at what's happening to us.
Mm-hmm.
They got you taking medicines and everything because you're anxious. Anxious for what? If you get ready, you get your mind right, you get your body right, you get the things around you need, you're not gonna be anxious. You're gonna be ready.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. I can't agree more with you there. When you look at the American society, it's no wonder that you have drug addictions. It's no wonder that you have people trying to escape, the reality in which we live. However, the best thing is like what you're saying is to face it. Face it. Don't run from it. Don't try to escape from it, because I always was told that when you come out of that high, the problem is still there. The reality of the situation is still there. So I think that it's something to where, we do need to stand up and just look at nature. Like you're saying, bears, they know that every year they're going to have to hibernate. So what do? They prepare. Squirrels do the same thing. What do? They be getting those nuts and storing them away. They say the squirrels are so crazy that they'll bury nuts in the ground and won't even remember where they buried them. And that's why forest comes up. But it's just really about us, if nothing else, following nature's example and prepare ourselves, for what we can see with our eyes. They're going to be a hard time. That's what we're seeing as human beings. We're seeing a hard time coming, and that we need to prepare. And one of the ways that we can prepare is by getting our homes in order, getting non-perishable foods and water, but also communicating with our family and our neighbors. You know, so yeah, I'll end it with that right there. And if you all want to go into anything else, we can, or if you want to, like I say, end it, we can go ahead and do that as well.
Okay. We can end it.
Mhm. Okay. All right. That'll be good. That'll be good. So, I just wanted to let everybody know out there that, continue to tune in to Refuge Depot. We are working on some spectacular programs that are coming up that we believe that will really be beneficial to individuals, to families, and to communities. So please stay tuned. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. join our Patreon. And with that, may God continue to bless you and your family with the light of truth and understanding as we leave you in peace. And